Hi, welcome. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. And today we're interviewing a fifth grade teacher at Roosevelt Elementary School named Miss Elise Arnoldi. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Max.
What is your schedule like when at work?
Well, our day at Roosevelt, my day at Roosevelt starts. I'm a very early riser. So my day starts about 6:30 in the morning. That's when I arrive at school. I usually kind of get all of my stuff put away, and then I step out of the room and I actually go for a walk with Mrs. Jennings in the morning. Her and I walk a few laps around the school to get our steps in the morning and kind of catch up with each other on, the evening, or if it's a Monday, on what we did for the weekend. And I walk for probably about 20 minutes, maybe, which gets me a little closer to 7 o'clock. And then that's when I go in and get everything prepared for my day. The students actually start arriving a little after 8 o'clock. And then the school begins. We usually start the day with a morning meeting. And then we go on to, the core subject areas. And then my fifth graders eat lunch every day a little before 12, around 11:50 we go to lunch. And then we come back around 12:30. So our morning, we usually have specials in the morning. And then our morning's pretty busy. And then we move into the afternoon, and school ends at Roosevelt a little after 3 o'clock. So that's when the school day ends and the students are dismissed. And then I kind of tidy up the room and get some stuff prepared for the next day, and then I head home, and that's when my busy day begins. when I get home. So
Now, when we were virtual for virtual learning, how did your schedule change in the aspect of morning? Did you get to sleep in a little bit, or did you still wake up at 6:30 a.m.?
well, you know what, Max? I'm getting older, so I I'm pretty set in a routine. So I still got up pretty early in the morning. And because I was at home, I would have to get everything, get the dog settled and get everything together at home, so that knowing that I was going to be online and in my office for the majority of the day. But I found when we were online that my day was actually longer. I ended up spending the I didn't feel like there was a real definite end time to the school day, because I was at home, the students were at home, and I found myself, if a student was struggling with something, I would, release the rest of the students for the day and hold on to a small group to work with. So sometimes, my day during virtual learning would go to like dinner time, closer to like 5:30, 6 o'clock sometimes.
When did you start working in West Bloomfield schools?
I hired into West Bloomfield in the summer of 1996. Ooh, that's a long time ago. That's when I was hired. I was hired to teach third grade at Roosevelt. So yeah, 1996.
You've stayed at Roosevelt your whole school career?
Yes, basically, I taught for 1 year in another district before I came to Roosevelt. But yes, the majority of my years, all of my years basically, have been at Roosevelt.
What was it like to apply to be a teacher?
Well, back then it was a little bit different. I actually, my sixth grade teacher, when I was in school, his wife taught in West Bloomfield. And he actually called me and said that West Bloomfield was hiring. So I applied, and at the time, I had to fill out an application and submit my resume and all of that stuff. And I got a phone call telling me that they wanted to interview me actually at Roosevelt. And so I interviewed with a now retired principal, Dr. Paul Lipson, and he interviewed me along with a few teachers. And then after that interview, I got a second call asking me to come back. I did the second interview, and then they offered me the job.
What was the interview process like?
Just sitting in an office with probably about 5 staff members from Roosevelt, and they asked me questions. Questions like, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What kind of experience did I have at that time as a teacher? They wanted to hear about different, different lessons that I had taught, how I would handle different situations in my classroom, questions about almost like role-playing type, questions or scenarios. If this happened, how would you handle it? But I found it to be very much like a conversation, just a group of adult, professionals getting together and having conversations. I actually even remembered, a lot of like laughing and smiling, and, it was a wonderful experience.
What inspired you to be a teacher?
Actually, Max, I wanted to be a veterinarian. That was my dream. And then when I was probably maybe middle school, I started thinking that I have a real serious fear of reptiles. I sometimes feel like my heart stops if I see a little garter snake, scurrying around in my yard, through the grass. And I thought, I don't know if I'd make a very good veterinarian with being so afraid of reptiles. So I started thinking that, at the time I was in middle school and I was doing some babysitting, and I was helping some of the neighborhood students, maybe with some schoolwork. I guess you could call it like peer-to-peer tutoring a little bit. And then I thought, you know what, I think I really want to be a teacher. And so then rest of middle school, all of high school, I just continued to feel that drive more and more that I really wanted to be a teacher. And I was very sure of it by the time I graduated from high school, and I was ready to go on to college too, and hopefully be accepted into an education program.
What is the easiest thing about your job?
I would say the easiest thing is bonding with my students. It's very easy to develop strong relationships with the kids, and that caring for them and wanting to see them be successful. And I really enjoy the relationships that I build with the families also. I enjoy being with the students. I love teaching 5th grade because I love the conversations that we can have. I hope that I am actually a mentor to some of the students, and that is and you were one of my students, Max. So some of my advice that I give throughout the day, is fun. And I love seeing like you, I love seeing students coming back after they're in high school and seeing how successful they are and, the great young adults that they've grown into.
I feel like it was yesterday where we were in fifth grade.
Oh, absolutely, Max. It does feel like yesterday.
Like I remember getting an email like the last week of summer, like good luck in sixth grade, and then I'm like, whoa, now we're done with middle school. Like where'd the time go?
I know it does. It seems crazy, doesn't it? But
Right.
my first group of students would be in their 30s. So I do understand how quickly time flies.
Are you still afraid of reptiles?
I still have a hard time with reptiles, Max. I really do. I've tried, people have tried to help me get over my fear because I know they're not going to hurt me, but they just give me the chills.
Even at the zoo?
Even at the zoo, even behind glass, I still have a bit of a problem with it. I do. Snakes and lizards. I'm okay with amphibians, frogs and toads, and they don't bother me a bit. But oof, reptiles, it's another story.
What's the hardest thing about your job?
Hardest. Sometimes it's emotionally difficult for me, when a student is struggling and I can't seem to reach them or help them, even if it's, not even academically that they're struggling, but, socially or emotionally a student is struggling. I take it home. I truly worry about my students when I go home. So I would say that that's probably the hardest part of my job, seeing a student struggle. I feel like the majority of the time I can help them, but sometimes it takes a little while, and just getting those correct resources in place, because a lot of times it's above me. It takes a team sometimes to help. So that's probably the hardest part of my job.
What is your favorite thing about your job?
Oh, the kids. That's my favorite part. Just like I said, the conversations and the fun and the building relationships with them. And fifth graders are just so fun. They're at an age where you can play and joke and, tell stories and have a good time. And I love that. I love the relationships that I build with the students and and relationships that last, just like you. I've stayed in contact with you, and I've stayed in contact with several of my students. And like I said earlier, watching them grow and move on and go to college and graduate and have successful jobs. I'm on the second generation, so I'm actually seeing some of my students from my earlier years having families of their own. So that's fun.
What is your least favorite thing about your job?
My least favorite thing. I don't know that I have a least favorite part. I really truly love my job. I can't really think of anything that I don't like about it.
What is the most stressful part about your job?
the time constraint. There's so much going on in a school day, and fitting everything in that I need to do is sometimes difficult, especially with fifth graders, because fifth graders have opportunities throughout the day that other elementary school students don't have. You know, we have our pack leaders, you know, that leave, you know, come into class a little bit late because they're doing their job, or they do their job right after lunch, so they come into class late from lunch, or they leave a little early in the afternoon to do their jobs. You know, fifth graders, we have camp at the end of the year, and you know, there's a lot of days that it's all fun and I love doing it, but it's probably the hardest, most stressful part would be the time constraints, because we have a lot to teach and sometimes not enough time to do it.
Do you ever have anxiety while or before you're making decisions for your class?
I do. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes I do feel a bit anxious about, you know, different things that I have to do, or meetings that I have to have with parents that sometimes are difficult. Yeah, even after 27 years, I still feel a little anxious sometimes when I have to, you know, sometimes I have to have some hard conversations.
How do you deal with your anxiety?
Well, just like we teach our students, you know, I believe in, you know, some mindfulness and breathing and, you know, meditation type activities to help, you know, keep, you know, stay calm. And something that actually my dad has always told me since I was very young, and I still do this today. Well, one thing that he always told me is to say everything 3 times in my head before I say it out loud, to make sure that they're the words that I want to say, and that they're not going to be hurtful or taken differently than what I mean. And you know, he always said you have to take a few deep breaths first, you know, and get yourself calm before, you know, you answer questions or you start a conversation that's going to be difficult, because you have to think about the point of view of the person on the receiving end of your words too, you know. So I think that's how I handle it, and I handle the anxiety and staying calm, and you know, and always try to be very respectful.
What is your advice on how to deal with anxiety?
Well, one thing that I know, because I'm getting old, one thing that I know is that throughout life there's peaks and valleys, right? And sometimes I think we feel like we're in the valleys for the valleys seem really, really long, and the peaks seem a bit shorter, right? One of my mom's friends, that was something that her mom used to always say, you know, that life is full of peaks and valleys. And I really do believe that. And it will always, every valley will always come back to a peak. And we, you know, throughout life, we have to just run the course and kind of let things happen, and it will always come back. But taking some deep breaths, of course, always using your family and friends. We all have support groups, right, that we can go to, whether it's a trusted adult or a family member, you know, using those people to help us through some of those more difficult times of stress and anxiety. But just being able to remember that every valley is going to come back to a peak. Though there's lows, but a high will come after that. So I think it's just, you have to be patient sometimes.
What is it like to be a teacher?
It's a great job, Max. It really is a great job. You know, you think about it, we get to we get to spend our day with students who the majority of the time love coming to school, especially in elementary school. The little ones love coming into school, love seeing their friends and their teachers. And, um, you know, I mean, you know that in West Bloomfield, there's a great group of staff. So the staff at Roosevelt, they're not just my friends, but they're my family too. And, being able to come in and see them every day, just like I said, I start my morning with Mrs. Jennings and we go for a walk. Sometimes we feel like we solve the world's problems on those walks some mornings. But it's a great job to have. It's very, very rewarding.
What are some trainings you have to be a teacher?
Well, all of the different core content areas, you have to have some sort of training for, the different programs that we use to teach those core content areas. We have to be very fluent in understanding of the Common Core State Standards so that we are, preparing students for, what comes next. I teach fifth grade, so my students have to be prepared for middle school and the rigor of middle school. So we have trainings all the time in different curricular type programs. We also have a lot of training on how to handle behavior and social emotional learning. And, there's a lot of professional development that we have when you are not in school. We are usually working to be trained in all those different areas to make us better teachers. And we have to make sure that we're not kind of getting stuck, right? We're staying innovative. And, our lessons and everything that we do is preparing you for this ever-changing technological world out there.
Who is your favorite person to work with?
Oh my goodness, I don't think I could answer that question. Are you referring to like staff members?
Anyone.
Oh my goodness. I love all of the Roosevelt staff. Of course, I have my veteran buddies that I've been teaching with for many years, like Mrs. Jennings and Mrs. Roth and Mrs. Law, Mrs. O'Brien, right? They're the vets that have been there for a very long time. Mrs. Cipolla, Miss Rich, they're kind of my anchors, right? Because they've been there with me through the years. But we have a young staff that's just come into Roosevelt, and I also love being around them because their energy and that young energy that they bring has just been so fun to be around. Makes me feel my age when I'm around them, but we have a great staff. We really do.
How did you pick the subject you chose to teach?
Well, I teach all subjects in fifth grade.
Or grade?
Oh, the grade. Actually, it's funny. I student taught in first grade, and I have so much respect for lower L teachers because after my student teaching, I knew right then and there that I wanted to try to find a position in upper L. So, like I said, when I hired into Roosevelt, I started teaching third grade, and I've taught third, fourth, and fifth, and gone back and forth between those three grades for a long time. I like the older kids. I mean, I love walking down Puppy Lane, and I love hearing those little kindergarten and first graders and the funny things that they say. And I love hanging out down there. But the end of the day, I like coming back to those older kids. I do.
So is your favorite grade to teach fifth grade?
Definitely fifth grade.
What are your hobbies?
You know what? I love to garden. I love working out in my yard. And I enjoy having my garden. I love to read. I'm an avid reader. I like realistic fiction and nonfiction. Those are my favorite genres. I love reading biographies and watching documentaries. So I'm an avid reader. I enjoy being outside. I have a golden retriever named Lily Mae, and her and I spend a lot of time walking and going, to different trails and stuff. And we enjoy that. And then I'm the mother of two boys. So I love following them around too, with their sports and their interests. So it all keeps me very busy.
What are you working on right now?
During the summer?
Or just anything in general?
Well, actually, I'm working on a Lego set. That's what I'm working on.
Set.
It is my very first adult Lego set. It is an old red truck that has like different ornaments that I can put either in the bed or hang on the front of it for different seasons. It was a birthday gift to me, and I have been having such a great time building that. I never realized, even when my boys were little and I would help them, play with Legos and stuff, I never realized how much I would enjoy having my own Lego set. It's been a lot of fun because I enjoy putting things together. I like doing puzzles and stuff like that. So I'm working on a Lego set right now.
What is your career history and roles?
Well, my career history has been a teacher at Roosevelt, right? I have my roles would be teacher, mother. Obviously I have parents, so I'm a daughter and a sister. And I, jobs that I had before I became a teacher. I actually worked in a pizza place and I made pizzas, and I worked at a children's clothing store. And so I've done a few different things in my life.
What is your education?
Well, I graduated obviously from high school. I went to the local high school that my kids went to. Not the same high school, because I graduated from Walled Lake Central, and then after that they built Walled Lake Northern, where my kids went. And then I went on and graduated from Oakland University with my teaching degree. And I then went back and got more credits. And so, yeah, that's my educational journey.
What is your education?
Well, what I just described. I graduated from Oakland University with my teaching certificate, and I am certified to teach, obviously, elementary, and then language arts in the middle school.
Do you like the old Roosevelt building better or the newer Roosevelt building?
Oh, they both have both of them. I I've always felt like Roosevelt isn't necessarily a building, it's the people. But I love that old historic building. I love the history behind it. I love the old bell out in front that we would remember. We
That
would
was
ring.
fun.
Yeah. First day of school and last day of school every year, we'd ring that old bell. And that was the bell that hung on the original school before what we call Old Roosevelt. Before that building was built, that was the old bell that was on the original school. So the history and the beauty of that old building is wonderful. But I feel like when we moved into what we call New Roosevelt, we worked really hard and made it look like an elementary school in there, and with our bright colors, and renamed all of the halls, and just I like that school. I love, obviously the rooms are bigger because it's a newer building. That old building was built for up to 12 or 15 students in a classroom back in 1920. Not even that many in a classroom. So I like the space that we have in the new building too.
Are they moving Roosevelt back to the old Roosevelt building, or are you guys staying at the Abbott building?
Well, for this year, we know we're staying, the upcoming school year, we know we're staying at the Abbott building. I don't, those are decisions that are made, with administration. So, but I know for next year, we're going to be back in our new Roosevelt.
Well, I would like to thank you for joining. I would also like to thank you for all that you do. I hope you have an amazing summer, and I will see you soon.
Thank you. It was
You're
fun
welcome.
talking to you, Max.
Fun talking to you too.
Have a great summer.
You too.